Here in Gallatin, a pre-Civil War mansion still stands today. Rose Mont was completed in 1842, and after all these years, it's developed quite the history.
All the wood and all the clay for the bricks was dug and used right here off the plantation. You've got to dig the clay, you've got to form the bricks, you've got to bake the bricks and that. So in a house this large, yes, it's going to take you time to build it. They started out by building the center core of the house and then built the two sections on later. I mean, the same time period, but after the main core was done.
And there are different styles of this home too, is that right?
Yes, there are. There's Creole style, there's Greek Revival, and there's Palladium. He was an architect out of Italy, and he does the tripartite, which is the three parts, which is exactly what we are in a way, but that has to do with the points on the house, on the roof of the house.
And why did they want the three different styles?
I think the judge loved New Orleans, but yet again, he didn't want to live there because of the heat and everything, and he wanted to be back here. And I think that was why we got the New Orleans bit into it, the Creole style into it.
And you said the judge. The judge lived here, but what was the judge's name? And tell me a little bit about his background, his history.
The judge was named Josephus Congill. His parents came over from Scotland, and he was actually born in Virginia. And then they came down to Red Boiling Springs, where he more or less grew up. At the age of 8, his mother and father died a month apart of milk fever. And he came down to somewhere around Bledsoe, where he had an uncle, and stayed with his uncle and finished putting himself through school and became a lawyer and opened a practice here in Gallatin. And as he got his money, he started buying property, and the final count that we can guess at was 600 acres total.
And why did he want to build such a big home, do you think?
Well, I think it was show more than anything, and he had a big family. He had 7 children. He had 4 girls and 3 boys. One boy died at 8 years old. I do not know why, what was wrong or anything. The others grew up and had their families and that. It's come down to be quite a cross blend here of the families. That would be the farm office, and the judge had a law office uptown, so this was just for the farm here, what they called the farm. The judge was big into thoroughbred horse racing, as a lot of the rest of the plantations in the area were, and so that mainly was what was going on down there. But of course, he was big in politics too, because he spent a year in the Senate and he spent 4 years in the House. So, yes, it was a big bunch of politics going on. They said at one time there was a huge bonfire down back here that it was kind of like a rally, I guess, to get somebody elected to office.
Well, speaking of politics, we'll get back to the House in a minute, but speaking of politics, did you tell me, I think you told me, all 3 Tennessee presidents actually have stayed here before?
Yes, they have been here to visit, and of course, because there is no electricity back in the day, that they would have to spend the night. So they would have spent in these 2 guest bedrooms.
Okay. Talk about the parlor downstairs, maybe some of the signature pieces of that room and what it was used for.
Okay, we had 2 parlors down there. Eventually, the back parlor became the home's dining room, so to speak, but they did use them both as parlors. In there is a piano that came from New York down to here, shipped down. Also, the sofa in that room is one that belonged to the family. We've had to have it reupholstered since then. Also, in there is the original dining room table, which is a gate leg, which they could put the 2 pins. When they're not using them, they set them up against the wall, and that's about. And then they changed the 2. When Walter and his wife inherited the house, they changed the 2 fireplaces, and they put metal in there because they wanted to burn coal, which, if anybody knows, coal burns hotter than wood does. But you got to have a bigger plate in there, and that's what they did.
And then, of course, you've got a girl's bedroom, and a boy's bedroom.
Correct. Now, the girls and the boys, all the children stayed in the 1 bedroom till the boys got between 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere in that age bracket. It depended on the family. And then they were here. They were put into another bedroom across the, so to speak, across the balcony here. And so they had their own room, and the girls had their own room. In where we're standing here are now the guest bedrooms. So you've got 2 guest bedrooms up here. There is some family touches here, but not very many of them. We are lucky to have, like the Teaster bed in this room that we're standing in now, is a donation. It's on loan to us, and maybe someday, and one of her relatives will come up and children, whatever, and want to get it back. But right now, that's a lot of what we have is in there. Our pieces that we have gone out at auction and bought also.
How long did Rose Mont actually stay in the Guild family?
It was in the Guild family till 1993. In 93, Miss Joanne was having trouble keeping up with taxes and repairs on the mansion, which, yes, repairs are atrocious on a big house like this, old house like this. So she went to the city, and the city said they could only give her $15,000 for it. Yeah, somewhere in that area. Miss Weems, Ellen Weems from Fairview Plantation came in and matched the cities, and then they formed a Rose Mont Restoration Foundation, and they raised the third part of that money. So, and Miss Joanne was allowed to live here for the rest of her life while we were doing the renovations. But I understand she would sit on a swing out on the front porch and watch things going on, and even when we had weddings to begin with, she'd be out there watching them.
Well, speaking of weddings, of course, you all aren't open as we speak. You open if you need to for special events and stuff like that. How does this plantation, this mansion, how are you able to keep it open, I guess?
Well, mainly from our weddings, from the money on weddings. Now, we are, and I'm kind of proud of this, we are kind of probably the cheapest place to get married with the best place on there. Because the girls, these 2 bedrooms we're in here, this is where the bride and the bridesmaids get dressed at. The boys get dressed down in the judge's office, the farm office. And usually their weddings, this is the only downfall we have, is it's an outdoor wedding site. And so they have the wedding either on the front porch, the side porch, out in the grass, down in the field behind us. They pretty much got quite a bit to choose from. And then we have a big reception hall down back for the receptions.
You said you've worked here for about 10 years now. What do you enjoy most about working here at this old, beautiful home?
Taking people on tours and explaining the house to them and that. And I mean, they don't even realize that they look through the glass and the wall, and then some of it is from back before the Civil War. And they see it, but they don't see it. And it's amazing to what people, don't see when they're looking at it.
As far as the future is concerned for Rose Mont, does the future look good? I mean, do you hope to stay open for many more years to come? And maybe are there any renovation projects in the future, possibly?
Oh, yes, there's renovation projects. We've got 2 chimneys up here that are leaning the wrong way, so to speak. So, yes, we've got some chimney repair. We've also got some wood rot out on there. It's the normal things that happen to an old house. Anybody that has one knows that, and it's a constant. And they always say it's a money pit, and that's what it is. But we try our hardest. We usually have a festival in the summer to try and raise money. Then we just got done with our Merry Mantles, which is our Christmas thing. And we get donations from people, and we don't charge that much for a tour. A tour is like $5 a person. So, it's a great place, and I love it. And I'm not even from here. I really do. I really love my job.
If you would like to visit Rose Mont or schedule a wedding on the property, the address is 810 South Water Avenue in Gallatin. You can also call 615-451-2331 for more information. Reporting in Gallatin, Barry Hiett, NCTV.